Good morning to you and welcome. 400 employees, as I say, donating part of their salaries to the Solidarity Fund. It is by all measures a magnanimous gesture. What informed this?
You know, Jeremy, good morning. In a country where 10 million people are without work and COVID, like every other crisis and challenge in life, affects the poorest and the most vulnerable in society, you cannot stand by and reflect on your own privilege and not reach out to those who are less privileged than you. And so during this time, more people are going to lose their jobs. So when the President and the Cabinet made this wonderful gesture that they would donate a third of their salary for 3 months towards the Solidarity Fund, I thought it would be wonderful to join that gesture, and so I committed to that and invited all of our staff to join me. Of course, saying to them that we don't expect them to give any specific amount, but anything that they feel in their hearts they could afford. And I'm really encouraged that many of them have decided to express their solidarity and also, more importantly, their compassion and empathy toward others. So I can tell you that we already have a pledge of 1.7, of which just over 1.8 million, of which just over 700,000 has already been paid over. And we will continue to appeal to our employees to continue to open their hearts. We may be tax collectors, but we also have hearts. We have our own families, our own loved ones, and so we know what it means to be poor. We know what it means to be underprivileged.
Commissioner, if I can, and while we've got you, let me widen the scope of our conversation. Yesterday on the channel, we spoke to one of the President's economic advisors, Tanya Ajam, who said, and I quote, "Conspicuously absent from most of the discussions is an acknowledgement of an imminent tax collapse in this country." It was a salutary interview, if ever I've done one. Do you think she's correct in her assessment?
Well, Jeremy, I more than a week ago in addressing Parliament, but also subsequent to that to the media, we expressed our initial and early indications suggest that we will definitely experience a significant undercollection. And we saw that in two ways. Firstly, we saw that by a significant decline in the year-on-year, in other words, April to April, underperformance of imports, which directly affects import VAT and duties. We see that in lower domestic VAT, which directly impacts on, or rather domestic consumption, which directly impacts on lower VAT. But, you know, economic activities, which that is a reflection of, can bounce back fairly quickly once we can start buying and selling, then economic activities will pick up. The real concern we signposted was that we are busy losing economic capacity. What I mean by that is when a small business or a big business, and we've had small and big businesses applying for business rescue, when a business goes down, that is a loss of economic capacity. It is far harder to recover economic capacity. When you lose one job in a country that already has so many people without work, it is indeed a loss of economic capacity. And so we wanted to just raise the attention and also help the decision makers who have to make this hard decision of balancing the health outcomes on the one hand with the economic and social outcomes on the other hand. Tax is real, almost near real-time data, and we just wanted to put that into the decision-making process so that every decision has consequence. And I think we wanted to just highlight that.
Commissioner, the President's Coordinating Council, as I've just reported, is meeting today to discuss the reopening of the economy, possibly moving sections of the country to a lockdown alert level 3. What is your expectation then of that meeting?
I think in a prior meeting that we took part on as part of NatJoints, or the National Joint Operations Committee, it is clear that we do not need a countrywide lockdown, which is the the most extreme expression of lockdown. There are in fact provinces and certain districts and wards where the infection rates is in single digits or low double digits. And clearly you can free up some more economic activities in those areas. And then when you come to the big metropoles like the Cape Town metropole, Johannesburg, KwaZulu-Natal and others, clearly the current rate of transmission is still alarming, and therefore one has to be more measured in that approach. So I do think that the time is ready to move away from a countrywide lockdown to a more calibrated lockdown that treats every ward or every big metropolitan on its own merit. I mean, that is really the essence of a risk-based approach.
Just very quickly, it would be symbolic, though, and not more than that, if rural areas and outlying areas were perhaps reduced. The heartland of this country's economy rests ostensibly in 3 metros, or 3 provinces, Gauteng, KwaZulu-Natal and the Western Cape. If the status quo remains there, that's not going to be of any assistance, surely, to the economy at all.
So you're spot on, and those are the metropoles that I just referred to, and it's just a coincidence that the 3 areas that reflect high transmission levels still are also the economic centers of the country. But again, I think the time is ready to move away from a total lockdown, such as we've started in 5, but to be more measured. And I believe that we cannot continue to hold back economic activities. What we need to do is to expand our testing capability, our contact tracing capability, because that helps us to detect specifically asymptomatic cases earlier and to, as it were, snuff out the fire when it's still a small flame. And then secondly, where we open up economic activities, to just be a lot more disciplined, and even where we need to enforce the public health measures, the occupational and also the social distancing measures. I do think that to be in either extreme is a lose-lose situation. So we have to find ways to coexist with the virus. That is the essence of the risk-based strategy. And I think we have to learn faster so that we can minimize the damage and the loss on both sides of that equation.
Commissioner Kisveta, I thank you from the South African Revenue Service.